of that being the case, what we've developed is a series of training modules to kind of standardize the industry, what lenders and what supervising appraisers should expect as guideposts to training and defining what the role of an associate or trainee appraiser is in terms of doing the inspections.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
And welcome. This is the Appraiser Coach Podcast. I'm broadcasting live. My name's Dustin Harris. I'm your host. And here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, it is November 2016, broadcasting from the Valuation Expo from the floor here. And have a couple guests that I can't wait to introduce to you, but first want to remind you that we are sponsored by Alamode Software. Alamode is providing appraisal software for appraisers across the country. Folks, there's a reason that this company has the market share, if you will, in the appraisal software. You can find out more at alamode.com. That's alamode.com. We are also sponsored by OREP Insurance, O-R-E-P. You can be found at orep.org and should be your next E&O insurance provider. Again, that's orep.org for more information. And finally, we are sponsored by DataMaster, who happens to have a booth here at the Expo. You can find out more about DataMaster by going to datamasterfreetrial.com/coach. Once again, datamasterfreetrial.com/coach. And we are back, folks. We are talking with two great individuals here in the appraisal profession, both Michael Simmons from Axis. He is the co-founder and co-president of Axis Appraisals. We're also sitting down with Tim Forsyth. Tim is the senior director of customer development at First American Forsyth Appraisals. Welcome, gentlemen. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, Dustin. We appreciate being here.
So right now, from what I hear, the rumor is that appraisers are old. I don't know if I can verify this, but I hear the number kicked around that the average appraiser's age right now is 62 years. Now, whether that's, give or take a few years, we just know that appraisers are retiring. They're leaving the industry at an enormous rate, and we're not seeing a lot of replacement. Michael, where do you see things as we are now, and what is the fear for the future?
Well, first of all, Dustin, let me say that 62 is the new 40. So,
and you look 29, by the way.
And I thank you very much. The great lighting in here. So I think the question is a great one. We've spent the better part of the last year, Tim and I, as kind of prime movers in the AMC committee as part of CRN. And our goal has been to examine and develop modules and methodologies and techniques and tools to advance a training protocol to bring new associate appraisers into the industry. It's our belief that there's a way to do this that can both serve the industry and benefit existing appraisers and their business model.
Okay. So this is the key. One of the things that I hear quite often is that we've got appraisers leaving, no appraisers coming through the door, and the reason is because they don't want to come through the door. Now, I push back on that because of my own anecdotal experience shows that even though I'm not actively advertising for appraisers, I get at least 2 resumes per month in my rural area of people that want to become appraisers. And when I tell them, hey, do you know what's going on in the industry right now? Do you know what's going on in the profession? I get no kickback. Most of them say, yeah, I do, and I still want to be an appraiser. In other words, I don't think the problem is with fresh blood wanting to come in the door. I feel that this is an economic problem with regard to appraisal business owners. Why should I hire you? How do we address that?
No, I think you've got a good handle on the situation. Steve and I were talking about the fact that unrealistic roadblocks have been thrown up for people that do want to get into the industry. it turns out that we have to have a 4-year college degree, and then we have to have 2 years of experience before somebody is ready to be certified. And the fact of the matter is, it's not economically viable to spend 2 years out there as an apprentice. And so we've been exploring ways to eliminate some of these roadblocks, and we've really made progress in the past year. Suddenly we have major lenders that are allowing associate appraisers that are not yet certified, to do solo inspections. And this is really a hopeful move in the industry. The fact that people can come in now and will be able to start making a decent living, much earlier. So that's a beginning. And there's other things that are starting to come together right now. So this is kind of a hopeful message. People have been waiting for a solution, and we're starting to see some things that are pretty positive.
The question I think that my listeners would have is, okay, we see the problem. We see that there's hope on the horizon. First of all, let's talk about that hope. What does that mean to the business owner, someone who would like to hire a trainee? Let's get down to brass tacks. What does that mean to somebody who wants to come in? And we all know that appraising is not typically a second job. This is your bread and butter. This is a breadwinner for the family. And trying to say, hey, I'm going to put my life on hold for 3-4 years while I get trained, and then I can start making some decent money as an appraiser. That's a challenging thing for most people. So it cuts most individuals out of the picture. People with a 4-year degree, people with an education, with ambition, but they need to start making money now. What does that look like? Where do we go?
So I think there are a couple of places that we can start in a very basic sense. First and foremost, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac both support the use of trainees.
Yes.
And
by the way, that's an important emphasis to make, because I don't think most appraisers understand that. They think that this regulation stuff that's coming down from our clients is coming from Big Brother, and it's not. Repeat that again. Fannie and Freddie what?
Fannie and Freddie both support the use of trainees, even in a solo capacity, doing the inspection. Now, part of the challenge is that states have the ability to have overlays that exceed federal guidelines, and Fannie is a government-sponsored enterprise. So the states get to impose an overlay. There are 21 states that will allow a trainee to do a solo inspection once they demonstrate that they have the capacity to meet the competency rule according to USPAP.
Okay, they're still being overseen by a supervisor, but the supervisor does not have to be attached at the hip during the inspection. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
The supervisor just has to determine that they've developed the competency per USPAP to make that inspection. There are another 10 states that require between 25 and 50 inspections and then demonstrate that they have adjusted to the competency rule that USPAP has regarding inspections. Okay. So that's 62% of the states in this country. And the rest of the states have varying degrees of rulemaking that start at about 12 months of supervision all the way up until 24 months and 2,000 hours and other draconian.
Okay, so in other words, there's a few states out there, but very few that require that a trainee would need to be with a supervisor through the entire training process.
That's correct.
Okay.
And our long-term goal is to be able to help educate the states that have those kinds of oversights, that there isn't a risk to reducing that oversight. They still have the same liability that the supervising appraiser has to take over any inspection. So, there's been plenty of protections built into that. In fact, there are some insurance carriers that actually bind the trainee through E&O insurance through that period of time, which is another thing that's an important little piece of it.
Okay.
So, all of that being the case, what we've developed is a series of training modules to kind of standardize the industry, what lenders and what supervising appraisers should expect as guideposts to training and defining what the role of an associate or trainee appraiser is in terms of doing the inspections. We've married that with the fact that Fannie Mae has determined that there is no qualitative risk from a case of overvaluation based on reports they've looked at, done by supervising appraisers, as opposed to solo inspections where the trainee has done the inspection. In fact, if anything, there's more of a risk of undervaluation.
Okay.
So
in other words, let me just parrot back what you're saying, because I think this is an important case to make. Because I hear that the fear in the industry is that we send appraisers out as trainees, and there is a higher risk when we do that. You're saying the quantitative data, looking at actual numbers, shows that there is not a risk in that sense.
That's correct.
Or at least the risk is not increased because trainee is attached to the name.
That's correct. There's no material. They can define some difference in some of the CU scores, but it's not material, and it doesn't represent, in terms of Fannie's perspective, an increase in risk.
So the question that often comes to me is who is keeping a trainee from going out on their own? What you're saying is, in some cases it's the state, but in most cases it's the client. The client has taken Dodd-Frank. They've interpreted it the way they have. Whether it's correct or not, they have decided that there is an increased risk to send a trainee out without a supervisory appraiser attached at their hip. And I just want to make sure I get this clear, because this is important to moving forward. You're saying that the data shows that's not the case, that the clients have misinterpreted or misunderstood, misallocated, maybe even just kind of gone too far in their regulations.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so where do we go from here?
Yes. So where we go from here is we have looked at the problem, and what we see is the challenge in today's world is that appraisers are almost in overwhelm. So if we expect and hope, yeah, that's right. So if we expect an appraiser to take on the additional burden of training an associate, even if it's just to do the inspection, we need to provide them help.
Good.
So that's really what our committee has done. We've laid out training protocols. We've laid out a testing module that will help assure lenders that the new associate trainee appraisers have developed the skills to do a solo inspection. We have networked with software providers and data tool providers in our industry, and they have pledged to provide tools and software to trainees at no charge, so they can help foster the new entrants into the industry.
Okay.
And it takes that added burden off of the supervisors to have to provide that to them, to bear the cost of that.
Right.
So
there's already a risk, and there's already a financial burden to anybody who wants to take on a trainee. You're saying we're going to reduce that risk and reduce that burden as much as possible.
That's exactly right.
Good.
That's exactly right.
And guys, I think that's a great place to pause here for our sponsorship and talk to you a little bit about Alamode software. Alamode is providing the best appraisal software in the industry. They've been the leader in the industry for years and years and years. Been providing appraisal software for over 30 years, and they should be your next appraisal software company. Why? Folks, I'm telling you, if you want the best in technical service, if you want mobile, if you want all the bells and all the whistles that'll make you a better, more efficient appraiser, you need to check out Alamode. Right now, you can try their 15-day free trial. You can check them out at alamode.com/free trial, alamode.com/free trial, and then you get a 10-year price guarantee at $349 per year for the next 10 years, folks. That's $349 per year for the next 10 years for the best appraisal software out there. We are also sponsored today by another software company that is here at the Valuation Expo 2016. They're just about 3 booths down from us. It is DataMaster. DataMaster will allow you to import your data directly into your appraisal report. That's right, folks. Instead of typing it or hiring someone else to type it for you, you got a comp, you got your MC sheet, you got your subject information, you hit a button, it all imports directly into your report. Think about how much time that's going to save you, folks. Most appraisers will report anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes per report saved with using DataMaster, and you can try them right now for 14 days free. Just go to datamasterfreetrial.com/coach. Once again, datamasterfreetrial.com/coach. And finally, we are sponsored by OREP Insurance. OREP is the E&O company that I switched to about 2 years ago, folks. And when I switched, I saved over $100. And then I waited a year and I renewed and I saved another $100. That's right. My E&O renewal will come up again in May, and I'll report then if it saves me another $100. I just know that not only am I saving money with OREP, but I am getting far more service and far more benefits than I received from my old E&O company, which will remain unnamed. Folks, check them out right now at orep.org. That's OREP.org for your next E&O appraisal company. We're here at Valuation Expo 2016, Las Vegas, Nevada. We're sitting down with Michael Simmons, who is the co-president of Axis Appraisal. We're also here with Tim Forsyth, which I'm sure you'll recognize the name, Forsythe Appraisals, now First American Forsythe Appraisals. He is the senior director of customer development. Tim, what does this look like in reality? In other words, what are we looking at timing-wise? I'm ready to sign up. I mean, where do I go from here?
It's a good question. The reason that this is so important, Dustin, I think the very future of appraisals is at stake. We all know that there's a lot of moving parts in the lending process, and the appraisals is an important part, but it's only one small part. And if appraisers don't have the bandwidth to meet the needs of the market can go right around us. There are alternatives to appraisals, and none of them are as good. We all understand how important the valuation piece is, but if we can't meet the need, they're going to go around us. That's a looming crisis.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's nothing like a crisis to bring about creative change.
Sure.
And we're seeing really interesting things happening right now. We're seeing organizations that in the past haven't had a real good track record when it comes to working together, suddenly teaming up on this issue because it affects all of us. I'll give you an example. The Appraisal Qualifications Board, the AQB, recently came out with an exposure draft where they are considering all kinds of drastic, interesting solutions. They're talking about rolling back the 4-year,
right,
require college degree. They're talking about the supervisor trainee model, which served us for so many years. It was codified into law back with FIREA 20 years ago.
Right.
It's no longer working. We're not able to get supervisors to agree to take on a trainee. There's a lot of good reasons. But one of the things they're looking at is using tested education to replace 100% of the experience credits. That, in other words, if we had modules where we're able to train and test every component of appraising that we feel is important, that could take place in the place of all the experience, and somebody could come out once they've proven that they have the concepts as an appraiser. Much like an attorney, once they take the bar exam, they're an attorney. That's the litmus test. So and we're hearing all kinds of fascinating ideas where possible virtual reality could be used. We've seen how airline pilots use virtual reality, or surgeons do. Well, appraising, perhaps we could walk appraisers through reality, the real life experiences that they run into as appraisers, and test each one of those and really give them the experience that we think is so important through a new technology that was never available until just recently. So exciting ideas
Absolutely,
are coming up.
Merger. So listeners, if you want more information on the AQB exposure draft, about 3 weeks ago, we did interview Isaac Peck of Working RE Magazine. He's the editor of Working RE. He went into great detail on this exposure draft. Some exciting changes happening in the industry. As you talked about, Tim, the merger of ideas and technology. the merger of being more efficient, more effective, but the key is quality, that we don't lose the quality. Michael, talk to us about that. Where do we go from here? I think the fear is a lot of appraisers think much like bank tellers did when they started coming out with ATMs. You've got technology coming into the marketplace. That technology, I don't think anybody could doubt, is getting better. When we first had the AVMs back in the early 2000s, most appraisers were fearful. We quickly saw that go away because the technology, let's face it, it stunk. And it was garbage in, garbage out. You're not seeing that anymore. Big data, merging of big data, the workings of combining those with formulas that actually prove to be pretty accurate, make people, appraisers, worried about their future. Again, Tim mentioned, sometimes fear is a good thing to motivate us to do better. My fear is that we as appraisers are so stuck in the 1004 status quo that we're not willing to look outside the box at some of these other things coming down the road. Talk to us appraisers. Help us to move forward, Michael.
So I think that everyone has to kind of face that fear. We just listened to a presentation about big data at Valuation Expo here. And the short takeaway for me was that everyone forgets that big data comes from appraisers. They're the ones that
mind it.
That provide that data.
Yeah.
And the fact is, there's no substitute for the human brain. The ability to parse disparate pieces of information, understand dynamics and perspectives and all the various things. It's just, machines don't do that. They just don't do that. They don't have that ability.
Analytics.
Yeah. They're wonderful tools. And in fact, the challenge for appraisers is to be able to keep up with the wonderful tools and be able to deploy them more effectively. And that's really what they need to do. And frankly, if we can take away 35 to 40% of their time in having to talk with homeowners, set appointments, drive to the properties, measure the house, take all the photographs, drive the comps. This won't relieve you from knowing your marketplace,
exactly.
But that savings in time is going to allow you to become more efficient, be more focused on the data, and be in a better position to do it. And frankly, one of the things that's made this possible today is the fact that we now have higher fee schedules. Customary and reasonable is becoming both customary and reasonable. And that's a big deal.
Absolutely.
Because if you find that you're getting a fee of $400 for an appraisal, and you pay and do the numbers yourself as an appraiser, but if you pay someone who's doing an inspection for you to take 35 or 40% of your time burden off your back, $100,
right.
Well, you're only going to net 75% of what you made. But if you can do 2 appraisals in one day because of the savings, you've given yourself a $200 raise.
Right. I've talked about this principle 1,000 times here and other places. Appraisers think in terms of fees, and we need to be thinking in terms of per hour.
Correct. That's exactly correct. And look, 10 years ago, there were lots and lots of appraisal companies where people actually understood the dynamics of a business, where they trained people, where they managed a business, and that was a heyday for appraisers. HVCC disenfranchised everybody in the industry. Our goal is to help refranchise them. This is an opportunity for appraisers who've got 20, 25, 30, 35 years in the industry to share and mentor what they've learned, to find a way to help train a new generation of appraisers, and at the same time create a business model for them to where they're not maybe quite as energetic to do as many appraisals as they have in the past, but they can have staff for doing that. And if they do that in a way that's nurturing enough, why would anyone leave? Well, they didn't leave before, and when they did, it was an unusual circumstance.
You simply have to create a need, and you have to create the ability to fill that need.
That's exactly correct.
That's the business model moving forward. Financially, it can be a highly incentivized process for a business owner as an appraisal.
And here's the other piece here, and I think this gets forgotten sometimes, even by us when we talk about it. Not every appraiser is going to want to have a trainee or needs to have a trainee.
Sure.
Their marketplace, their business model, their personal persuasion may not be for one. So this doesn't represent a threat to them or a burden to them.
Right.
But for the industry as a whole, in order to regenerate a new breed of appraisers and repopulate the appraisal industry, they have to come from somewhere. And so we want to be part of that change, that agent of change, and we want to support that. And Tim and I compete in the marketplace.
But you're sitting next to each other.
That's correct.
You haven't bid each other yet.
That's right.
Good.
We're not enemies.
Yeah.
We just compete. And that doesn't mean we can't be friends, and it doesn't mean we can't both advance the industry because it works for all of us.
Yeah.
And that's our goal. And that's one of the reasons why we're making all of this available to every AMC that's interested.
Tim, I'm going to give you the last word. Look forward, if you can. Pull out your crystal ball.
Yeah.
Where are we at 2 to 3 years from now as an industry?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm really hopeful. I think, fees have turned the corner on fees. I think suddenly the fees continue to go up, and I think if nothing else, we learned from the economic meltdown that not having respect for the valuation piece got us into a world of hurt. And so hopefully we'll continue to build on the momentum there. I think with the help of so many people in the industry that are committed to bringing in the brightest and the best young technology-savvy appraisers, the industry is going to get much stronger. And I really would like to acknowledge all the people that have made a decision that the industry has been good to them, and now they're looking for a way to give something back to the industry.
Absolutely.
And I'm seeing people step up, busy appraisers that are willing to work together. I love that term, co-opetition. And friends like Michael and I, we've always been able to find other people in the industry that have that same view. And I think we're very fortunate to be in an industry where there is so much cooperation between peers.
Well, we've been here at the Valuation Expo here for a day and a half, and I have had an opportunity to rub shoulders with appraisers who have passed my booth and talked to me, and I'm telling you, I'm hearing more and more of that exact thing. They see the concerns, they see the writing on the wall, they see where this could be headed, but doesn't need to be headed, as long as we work together and start to develop a system that can allow an incentive both on the trainee side, but more importantly on the individual that's going to be hiring the trainee, the business owner, the individual who wants to grow their enterprise. Folks, we've been talking with Michael Simmons. He is the co-president and co-founder of Axis Appraisal Management Solutions. Also Tim Forsythe, senior director and of customer development at First American Forsyth Appraisals. Gentlemen, you're still getting along. Competitors, but friends.
That's right.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all you're doing in this profession to move it forward.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thanks for your time too, Dustin.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast, broadcasting live from the Valuation Expo 2016 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thanks again, guys, and we'll catch you next week.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.